When the war ended, Earth didn't celebrate. There were no parades, no fireworks, no victory speeches echoing across shattered cities. There was only silence. The Galactic Coalition called it a peaceful integration. Humans called it surrender. I called it survival. My name is Adrian Vale, former tactical engineer for Earth Defense Command. These days, I repair atmospheric regulators in a settlement that used to be Denver. Now it's District 7 of the Volari Protectorate. The Volari.
Tall.
Pale skin that shimmered faintly under artificial light. Eyes like liquid starlight, silver when calm, blue when curious, violet when angry. And the one assigned to monitor me had the brightest eyes of all. Her name was Lyra. Beginning the assignment, Lyra arrived 3 weeks after Earth officially signed the accord. She didn't wear armor like the Volari soldiers. She wore civilian robes, flowing, almost liquid fabric that moved like it was alive. She looked too young to be part of a conquering species. But appearances lie. The first day she stepped into my workshop, I didn't look up. "I am Lyra Sithari," she said in careful, precise English. "Cultural Integration Liaison." "Congratulations," I muttered, tightening a plasma coil. "You found the right ruin." She tilted her head. "Volari did that when confused. You are Adrian Vale. You helped design the orbital railguns that destroyed 3 Volari dreadships." I shrugged. Guess they weren't designed well enough. Silence stretched. I could feel her studying me. Most humans either glared at Volari or bowed their heads in forced politeness. I did neither. I simply kept my distance. Over the next few weeks, Lyra visited daily. Officially, she was there to ensure cooperation. Unofficially, she was curious. She asked questions. Endless questions. Why did humans cook food with fire when fusion heaters were more efficient? Why did we keep photographs of dead relatives? Why did we write songs about losing? And every time she asked something personal, I stepped away. Not physically, just enough to remind her there was a line. She noticed. Of course she did. Volari were observers by nature. It's how they won wars. Middle, curiosity, and walls. The first time she touched me was an accident. She reached for a broken regulator panel at the same moment I did. Our hands brushed. Her skin was cool, almost cold, but not unpleasant. Like smooth marble warmed slightly by sunlight. She froze. Volari rarely made unplanned physical contact. It was considered intimate. I withdrew immediately. "Apologies," she said softly. "It's fine." But I moved 3 steps away. She noticed that too. Later that evening, she asked the question, "Why do you maintain distance?" I kept working. "You are not hostile. You are not afraid. Yet you behave as though proximity is dangerous." I set down my tools. "Maybe it is." "To you," she asked. "To both of us." Her eyes shifted from silver to faint blue. Confusion. "You believe I would harm you?" "No," I said quietly. "That's the problem." She started staying longer after that. Watching. Learning. Sometimes helping. She learned how to hold a wrench. How to recalibrate a sensor. How to laugh, though the sound came out softer than human laughter, almost like wind chimes. One afternoon, the power grid flickered across District 7. Emergency sirens wailed. A destabilized energy core in the lower sectors was about to overload. If it went critical, it would take half the district with it. I grabbed my toolkit and ran. Lyra followed. "You are not assigned to hazard response," she called. "People are down there," I replied. "So are Volari supervisors." Good for them. The lower sector was chaos. Smoke, sparks, shouting. Humans and Volari scrambling together. Not out of unity, but necessity. The core housing unit was cracked. Radiation levels climbing. It must be sealed manually, Lyra said after scanning the diagnostics. The fail-safe systems are non-functional. Then we seal it. Exposure at that range will be lethal. Eventually, I said. She stared at me. You would sacrifice yourself for this district? It's my district. I stepped toward the core. She grabbed my arm. Her grip was firm, stronger than it looked. You will die. Probably. She hesitated. Then she stepped beside me. Then we will both die. I looked at her. For a species you conquered? For lives, she said simply. We worked together in the radiation haze. Her precision complemented my improvisation. Volari engineering was elegant. Human engineering was stubborn. We sealed the housing unit with manual magnetic clamps and rerouted power through auxiliary conduits I'd installed months earlier as a just-in-case. The core stabilized. Siren stopped. We collapsed against the corridor wall, breathing hard. She was shaking slightly. Not from fear. From proximity. Volari bodies were sensitive to adrenaline spikes in others. It triggered a chemical empathy response. She could feel my heartbeat racing, and I could feel her hand still gripping mine. I gently pulled away. She didn't let go immediately. Then she did. That night, she returned to the workshop unannounced. You nearly died, she said. So did you. I chose to. So did I. She stepped closer than usual. Your distance, she said quietly. It is not fear of harm. No, it is fear of attachment. I didn't answer. Her eyes shifted toward violet, the color of emotional intensity. Volari do not form attachments lightly, she continued. But when we do, they are permanent. Our bonding process is irreversible. I felt the air tighten. Humans aren't so different. You are. Her voice softened. Your lifespans are shorter. Your emotions burn quickly and fade. You love and lose and love again. That's not a strength, I said. It is resilience. She moved even closer, close enough that I could see faint constellations patterned in her irises, natural bioluminescent flecks unique to each Volari. Why do you keep your distance, Adrian? She whispered. And this time, I couldn't avoid it. The answer, because, I said slowly, your people aren't staying. She blinked. The Accord guarantees 100 years of oversight. Exactly, I replied. Oversight, integration, cultural exchange. You'll learn everything about us. Improve what you think is broken. Then one day, you'll decide we're stable enough to stand alone. That is the objective. And then you'll leave. Silence. You're explorers, I continued. Scientists. Expansionists. You don't conquer for cruelty. You conquer to uplift and move on. She didn't deny it. You'll go back to the stars. Back to your near-immortal lifespans and interstellar cities. And humans will stay here. Aging. Dying. Remembering. Her eyes dimmed to silver. I will age, she said. Not like me. Volari lived 3 centuries on average. I'd be lucky to see 80. Attachment, I said quietly, means watching you stay young while I don't. It means knowing you'll outlive me by generations. Or worse, it means you leaving before I'm ready. Her breath caught. You assume departure. I assume reality. She was silent for a long time. Then she asked, almost afraid of the answer. And if I chose to remain? I finally looked directly into her eyes. That's why I keep my distance. Climax. The choice weeks passed. She stopped asking about my distance. But she didn't stop coming. If anything, she came more often. She brought data pads filled with Volari poetry translated into English. She asked me to explain human idioms. She tried coffee and hated it but kept drinking it anyway. We walked through the reconstructed parks of District 7 at dusk, when the artificial sky glowed soft orange. And every time she stood too close, I reminded myself, temporary. Then the transmission came. A Volari recall order. Phase 1 integration complete. Selected liaisons to return to Central Command for reassignment deeper into Coalition space. Lyra's name was on the list. She told me in the workshop. I depart in 6 days. I nodded. Congratulations. Her eyes flared violet. You knew this would occur. Of course. And you are unaffected? I tightened a bolt too hard. The metal cracked. Of course not. She stepped forward. Adrian, don't. Do not distance yourself now. That's exactly when I should. Her voice trembled, something I had never heard before. You believe I feel nothing? I believe you'll survive it. And you, she demanded. I met her gaze. No, I said honestly. Silence fell like gravity. Departure day came faster than either of us expected. Volari transport vessels hovered above the settlement like silver moons. Humans watched from below, some relieved, some bitter, some indifferent. Lyra stood at the base of the landing platform. She wore formal Volari attire now, structured, luminous fabric marking her as a returning envoy. She looked like she belonged among the stars. Not in my ruined workshop. I stayed at the edge of the crowd. Distance. Always distance. Until she walked toward me. You did not come to say farewell, she said. I'm here. At the perimeter. That's close enough. Her eyes searched mine. For you, perhaps. A transport beam activated behind her. Others were boarding. Lyra, I said quietly. You should go. She didn't move. You were correct, she said. Volari do not attach lightly. I swallowed. When we bond, it is permanent. The beam pulsed brighter. I requested reassignment, she continued. My chest tightened. To a long-term planetary advisory role. I stared at her. District 7, she finished softly. The world seemed to narrow to just the two of us. You're staying? I asked. For one human lifetime, she said. At minimum. My voice barely worked. Why? She stepped closer than she ever had before. Close enough that I could feel the faint hum of her bioluminescent skin. Because, she whispered, you were wrong about one thing. I waited. You assumed I feared losing you to time. She lifted her hand and placed it over my chest, directly above my heart. I do not fear watching you age. Her eyes shone like starlight. I fear never standing close enough to see it. My breath caught. The transport beam shut off behind her. Her recall slot reassigned. Choice made. Ending. No more distance. Life in District 7 didn't transform overnight. Humans still distrusted. Volari still observed. But something shifted. Lyra moved into quarters near the workshop, officially for logistical efficiency. Unofficially because she stopped pretending proximity was accidental. She learned to cook terrible human meals. I learned to read Volari star maps. We argued about philosophy, about ethics, about whether humanity truly needed Volari oversight. She never tried to change me, and I stopped trying to protect myself from what might hurt later. Years passed. Lines formed at the corners of my eyes. Her face remained almost unchanged, except for subtle tonal shifts in her bioluminescence, patterns that deepened with emotional growth. One evening, decades later, we stood on a rebuilt hill overlooking a thriving city. No longer a protectorate. An ally. Volari ships still visited, but they did not govern. Humans had rebuilt. Not because they were uplifted, but because they were given space to try. She stood beside me, her hand resting easily in mine. No hesitation. No distance. Do you regret it? I asked her. Remaining? Yes. She turned to me. Valari measure life in centuries, she said softly. But meaning is not measured in duration. I smiled faintly. You'll outlive me. Yes. You'll watch me grow old. Yes. You'll watch me die. Her fingers tightened. Yes. I nodded slowly. And you're still here. She leaned her forehead gently against mine, a gesture that once would have been unthinkable. I asked why you kept your distance, she said. You answered with fear. I chuckled softly. Wasn't wrong. No, she agreed, but incomplete. And what was I missing? Her eyes glowed softly in the twilight. That some distances are worth crossing, she whispered. I closed the space between us fully. No retreat, no caution, just warmth, human and alien, fragile and enduring, measured not in centuries, but in choice. And in that moment, as the twin lights of a Valari cruiser streaked harmlessly across Earth's peaceful sky, I understood something simple and terrifying and beautiful. Keeping distance protects you from loss, but it also protects you from living. She had asked why I kept my distance. My answer left her speechless. But her choice rewrote both our worlds. And this time, neither of us stepped back.